Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello! Hello, and welcome to episode 98 of The Joy of Coding. My name's Mike Conley. Hey, we're going to be hacking on Firefox stuff today. I'm pretty stoked because the past couple of weeks we've been working on some stuff and not making too much forward progress. Today I'm actually predicting more of a leap in terms of progress, particularly because, well, let me point out the agenda and I'll explain why. So, let me switch my screens. Where am I? Whoop. And here's the agenda. So if you are watching this on this video on AirMozilla, go down to the additional links section. You can get a copy of this agenda. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's in the video description. On Facebook, it's on a pinned comment. And if you're watching this on Twitch, I'm about to drop the link into the Twitch chat. Boom. Done. There's the agenda. And so now you can click on the links and follow along. So a reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I kind of hinted at the beginning of the episode just a couple minutes ago that I was expecting great progress today. That might not happen. Things might go horribly wrong. None of this is super planned. It's really just kind of like improvised, and I kind of have a roadmap, but things can go horribly wrong. That's quite all right. That's exactly what I expect, actually. Things to go horribly wrong, and that's okay, because you'll get to watch me try and get out of trouble. So just a reminder there. I'm just making sure that my audio is working, and make sure Wacky Morning DJ is working, because the reason I had to trigger Wacky Morning DJ for the initial Joy of Coding music from my desktop here, because my laptop or my tablet decided to restart. Now I'm going to test it to make sure it works now that it has finished booting. And let's see here. Let's get a sound. Which one? Let's do Zelda Secret. No? There it is. Okay, good. Glad that's working. So, and you can hear me. Great. I am so close. We are nearing the 100th episode, but I want to remind you that next week, April 26th, 2017, there is no episode. I'm traveling. I will not be able to record an episode. So there's no episode next week. Maybe take that opportunity to watch one of my past episodes, or maybe watch someone else from like the Watch People Code subreddit. There is a subreddit at https://www.reddit.com/r/watchpeoplecode. There's lots of choice there. So do check that out if that is something that you need and I'm not around. So let me just boom, linkify that. So the week after, though, I'll be back. That'll be episode 99, and then the week after that, assuming nothing jumps up and has me delay an episode again, we'll be at our 100th episode, and I'm taking a survey and what I'm going to be working on for the 100th episode. The survey lists a couple of bugs that I found in Bugzilla that had high vote count, and I'm not guaranteeing, I want to stress this, I'm not going to guarantee that I will actually be able to fix the bug. I haven't done much like investigation into any of them, but I'm going to see what I can do to try and drive the bug to some kind of completion. Maybe that's via an actual patch in Firefox, maybe that's by writing an add-on, maybe that's by, I don't know, closing out the bug because it turns out it's impossible. Who knows? Hopefully I will be able to drive it to some kind of conclusion or provide some kind of option for the people who really want that thing. So do fill out the survey if that's a thing you care about. I also want to mention that I'm working on a project to help make Firefox faster. I've been doing this for a couple of months now, but it was kind of haphazard and not very organized. There are instructions here under Gather a Profile for how you can report a performance problem. If Firefox is being slow for you, if it's taking up a lot of time, it's janking, like they're skipping frames, if it's not feeling good, there is now a form for you to, well, there's a wiki page on how you can collect what's called a performance profile, which is sort of a readout, a black box readout of, and when I say black box, I mean like flight recorder is what I mean. Flight recorder readout of what your browser is doing when things are slow, and then you can send it there's a form here where you can send me a link to that, and then I will queue it for analysis. And I'm starting up a new show, hopefully, I'm going to say the week after next. I was hoping to do it this week, but it may or may not happen. Who knows? Might be this week, might be the week after next. I'm going to pilot it, so maybe it'll be this week, but where I analyze those profiles live and people can learn how to do that. So do send me your performance profiles. Next thing, before we get into the work, I want to tell you about an idea that one of my viewers, Sam Foster, had. This is an episode guide. There's a GitHub link to this episode guide that I just like really stubbed out. There's nothing in here except a README. But the idea is that we could have this like repository that is on GitHub that the viewer community, that's you folks out there, can help add to. So like as you're watching episodes, maybe you notice that I've made a mistake, or maybe you want to add links to stuff I did, or further reading, etc., etc. So there's this episode guide, and if you want to contribute to it, that would be lovely. And I might start like a couple of a couple of the entries by myself to kind of get the ball rolling. But I'm hoping that over time, if people are interested in it, they could start contributing and helping me do that. And that's an idea that I got off of the Handmade Hero, which is a great live hacking channel, or a live hacking series, Handmade Hero, where a developer is working on building a computer game step by step from scratch, not using any like third-party library, or not using any like game engines like Unity or Unreal or anything, but starting actually from scratch, old school, making a video game. And so there's an episode guide that is community driven and viewership driven, and that's where this idea more or less came from. So thanks, Sam Foster. I hope that this is useful. If not, like, it's possible that this will not work and no one will contribute and it will fail miserably. I highlight that out here. As usual, that is quite always a possibility, and that's okay. No problems. So I want to give an update on the bug that we've been working on for the past couple of weeks, which is trying to make tab closing faster. If you're curious about how I'm trying to fix this bug, or like what exactly the problem is, I highly recommend going back to watch episode 96, because I explain the problem. And the past two episodes, 96 and 97, I've been trying to fix it, and I kept hitting some barriers, especially I didn't know how to structure things so that if the inner windows that had before unload event handlers, if they navigated or if they had their DOM nodes removed, how to like notice that and tell the tab parent that the before unload event listener has gone away. If you're not sure what I just said, if all of that is kind of nonsense, I explain it in episode 96. So please do check that out, or maybe add some notes to the episode guide. Maybe that'll help. So this past week, I actually made a breakthrough with the help of another Mozilla contributor named Michael Azell, and he was giving me a couple of tips. He knows the DOM code quite well, and he gave me some tips on how to approach the problem. I've posted a patch. The patch appears to work, so if you're interested in looking at the patch, it's in that bug 1336763, for which there is a link in the agenda, and you can look at the patch here. It's currently awaiting review from ASON, but I'll spend 1 minute more or less explaining what I did. Let's see here. Basically, I add a strong reference to the tab child inside the both inner and outer window script global. And that happens whenever we initialize the script global. We try and grab the tab child that it belongs to, because everyone in the content process, every script global, I believe, well, for tabs anyways, has a tab child. And so we can get those and stash a reference to it. And then I also added some macros here to help, because the tab child knows about the global window. Now the global window knows about the tab child. We can create like a cycle accidentally that way, so we could accidentally leak memory. So we have a cycle collector, and I've told the global window how to unlink the tab child. There's just these two macros I have to add to break cycles so that we don't leak. And then whenever we add a before unload event listener, we tell the tab child, and when we remove one, we tell the tab child again that we removed it. And then down here, when we remove all listeners, and that occurs whenever the document's unloaded because we navigated or because the iframe, maybe it's a subframe, the node got removed from the DOM or something, we will remove all the event listeners. We tell the global about it, and then the global will do the work of telling the tab child, hey, I removed a before unload event listener. And now we have this has before unload attribute on the tab parent in the parent process, so that we can tell when, like without having to message the child, hey, do you have any before unload event listeners anywhere in your DOM tree, in your top frame or any of your subframes? And that's useful because if we do, then we know we have to message it and say, hey, execute your before unload event listeners, so we know if we have to cancel this close. But if we don't, then we can close the tab right away. And for the vast majority of tabs, there are no before unload event listeners, so we can just close the tab right away without messaging the content process, and that's going to be good for the majority of tab closing cases, and we can be nice and zippy for those common cases. So that's more or less what happened. Do study the patch if you're curious about how that's working. I know it's a lot. Things like NS Global Window are very confusing. Inner and outer windows are very confusing. I myself quite confused, but the past couple episodes might give you, episodes 96 and 97 might give you enough context if you're still confused. And if not, maybe send me a message and I'll do my best to try and explain it. So now I'm writing some tests. We're in the state now where I want to test this behavior, and that means like having a bunch of frames and then adding before unload event listeners and making sure that in the tab parent it knows that a before unload event listener has been added, and then doing various things to try and get that flag to change to false or true based on what's going on. And I've actually started the tests in this file here, browser has before unload simple. I think I named it has before unload simple, but it turns out I'm actually like doing a lot of test cases in one go. They're pretty fast, and I don't think I'm actually going to break it out into multiple files. So what I might end up doing is restructuring how I've done my directories here. I kind of assumed I'd have multiple test files. I might end up just having the one, and so I won't need the folder structure that I started with. But that's okay. So basically, I'm, excuse me, I am, oh, Sublime. Sublime is hanging. Oh, there we go. It's just dealing with the fact that I am bumping up the font for you all to read. Holy smokes, come on, Sublime. Basically, I've got a bunch of helper functions for manipulating a page that has an object exposed on it, which I can use to easily add before unload event listeners and remove before unload event listeners. And then I can do various things with that tree of iframes. So I can like, I've got what? I can add a before unload event listener to any one of those iframes. I can remove them. I can navigate any of those iframes, and I can remove one of the subframes. And so I've got a bunch of helper functions to do that, and then a bunch of these cases. So for example, here's a case where once we have a new tab that is remote and we assert that it starts without a before unload event listener, then I add one at the top level and then make sure that it has a before unload event listener, and then I remove it at the top level and make sure that the has before unload is false. And then I do, that's like the simple case. Then we do some more sophisticated cases where I add multiple and then remove them one at a time and ensure that once we remove the last one, that has before unload becomes false. And then I start getting into more sophisticated cases like what happens if the top level browser navigates. The before unload event listeners that I add never block navigation. I'm not testing that. I'm testing just the detection of them. So navigating here is okay. I just tell the top level browser window, hey, go to this example.com page, and then make sure that has before unload goes to false, even though I had added a bunch. I add 5 here, before unload event listeners before the navigation. And then I do my like multiple frames. So I prepare 3, basically a top frame, which has a subframe that has the same page in it, and then a subframe in that subframe. So like a frame within a frame within a frame, 3 levels. So I have a top, middle, and bottom, and then I can control those individually. Like I can add before unload event listeners to the middle or the top or the bottom, and then I start removing them and making sure that that works. And so now I think I'm actually almost done the test cases that I care about. And what I want to do is maybe write one more down here, make sure it passes, and then I want to document all of this. I want to make all of this is quite complicated, especially this function here, which is doing the work of finding the right frame and controlling it and stuff. So I want to document these. These are all helper functions that wrap the control frame method that I wrote, and I want to document all of them to make it clear to the reviewer what is happening. So let's look at the last test case I wrote here. I wrote a test case for, we have our 3 frames. You know what? I'm actually going to set that to a constant. Const total frames is 3, and then I'll do that just because I want to make it clear that even though I've got like almost these indices 0, 1, and 2 and this length 3, I want to make it a lot clearer what I'm targeting without having to like just use numbers. So that's why I'm using these constants to make it easier to read without having to like remember the index of each frame. And that I think there'll be a graphic here which will be useful. Like if I do some like ASCII art in here. So this last test, I got our 3 frames set up, and then I did before unload event listeners, I add 3 to the middle one and then 1 on the bottom one. I make sure that we have has before unload true on the browser, and then I remove the subframe. So I'm actually like removing the iframe from the middle. So that means I get rid of the bottom iframe, and then we should still have the has before unload, and then I remove the subframe from the top, and then we shouldn't have any before unload. So that's good. Were there any other cases? I navigated within the subframe. I removed the DOM windows. Maybe that's all the cases I really cared about. DOM node removal. Navigation. Let me look at my list. I put together a list of the tests I wanted. Here in the notes for the bug, which I encourage you to read, there's a link in the agenda, and I wrote all the cases I want. Page with before unload reports true, then navigates to a page without a before unload. Okay. Subframe case, page with before unload, a subframe without a before unload. Yeah, did that. DOM removal case, we did that. I did this. I think we got the cases that I wanted. So we might actually be done writing these test cases. I'm just going to prove to you that the tests actually pass. I'm going to run the test case right now, the test file. You can check it out. Watch it basically say success, hopefully. And the other thing I want to do is I want to see if I can preempt any non-determinism. So I'm actually going to run. So yeah, that all passed. All those assertions passed. I'm going to repeat the test like 15 times just to make sure, or to increase the probability that if there is any non-determinism here, that I'm going to catch it, and that it will, if there's I don't want to like introduce an intermittent failure. So I want to like make sure that if there are any races in here, that I've done the work to increase the probability that I catch them before I land this test. So let's run this test a couple more times. And it's possible that there is a race in here, some non-determinism, and I don't know it, and I won't catch it here. That is sometimes what happens. That's okay, but I want to do my due diligence before I push to try. So pushing to try is the next step in making sure that I didn't introduce any intermittent oranges, what we call intermittent failures. Is I'll push it to our testing infrastructure, which will build the test for build and run the test on a bunch of different platforms. And I can repeat the runs and with like all sorts of configurations. So this test is, I don't know which iteration we're on here. Um, hey, okay, so we passed them all. That's good. So I'm reasonably confident that we don't have any intermittent failures. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding documentation. That is what we're doing for the first part of this episode today. I don't want to spend too much time doing this, but it is important. Documenting your code is important. So what I like to do is when I write a test, I want to document exactly what's being exercised by the test so that if someone were to come back to this file years, months from now, they know exactly what the purpose of the test is. Tests, various scenarios where before unload event handlers are added, or hang on, tests that the NSI tab parent has before unload. What is it? It's a read-only property, right? Has before unload. It's a read-only attribute. Has before unload attribute is properly works under a number of different scenarios. At a high level, we test that has before unload works um, works works properly during page navigation or iframe, or when an iframe with a before unload listener is removed from the DOM. Page or frame, I should say page or frame slash frame iframe navigation when iframe is removed from the DOM. Okay, so first test the simple case on the top level window by adding a single before unload event listener and then removing it. And then what does this do? Now it said several before unload listeners ensure that we only set has before unload to false once the last listener, I should say listener, is removed. Now let's have the browser navigate away with a before unload listener set and ensure that we clear the has before unload value. That's pretty clear. Reset the page back to the, now send the page back to the test for the next few tests. We want to test has before unload works properly with before unload event listeners in iframes elements 2. So we prepare a structure like this. Root window, our top level content window at page URL. And then I'm going to do some ASCII graphics. iframe at page URL. iframe at page URL. Top, middle, bottom. Prepare a structure like this with total, with 3 frames, 3 content windows to exercise. Top level content window iframe at page URL, iframe at page URL bottom. These constants are just to make it easier to know which frame we're referring to without having to remember the indices, exact indices. Okay. Now, tests that if there are before unload event listeners on all three levels of our, I should say all levels of our window structure, that we only set has before unload to false, or hang on, total frames. We should initially start with before has before unload set to false. Test that if there are before unload event listeners on all levels of our window structure, that we only set has before unload to false once the last before unload listener has been unset. So we add two on the middle, one on the top, 5 on the bottom. We insert that has before unload is true, 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 and then we remove 1 from the top, 5 from the bottom, 2 from the middle, and then we assert has before unload is false. Now the navigation case on the subframe. Okay, so that's good. Now the navigation case on the subframe, I think we can probably make that clear. Test that if before unload event listener is set on an iframe that navigates away to a page without a before unload listener, that has before unload is set to false. So we add 5 before unload event listeners to the bottom. We assert that we have it set to true. Then we navigate the subframe to example.com. Assert has before unload is false. Or reset our window structure. Now reset our window structure now, and then we add 3 to the middle, 1 to the bottom, and then we navigate the middle. Similar, this time navigate the middle frame away from, this time add before unload event listeners to both the middle and bottom frame, and then navigate the middle away. This should set for has before unload to false. Okay, and now the removal case. Now tests the case, tests that if the middle and bottom, prepare frame depth, should be using this constant again. Yeah, prepare frame depth. Okay, test that if the middle and bottom frames have before unload event listeners, and if we remove the iframe from, the middle, if we remove the iframe, the bottom iframe from bottom iframe and the middle iframe that has before unload is set to false. And then there is one more case I just thought of. I want to test that if we have that same scenario, test that if the middle and bottom frames have before and load event listeners, if we remove just the middle, or just the middle iframe that has before and load is set to false. Okay, so let's do this. We prepare frame depth again, basically all of this, but we're going to alter it slightly. 3 frames, add before and load listeners to middle and bottom, and then we're going to remove the subframe from just top. Okay. So there's some documentation there. Let's see if that passes. We won't repeat it the whole time. Rid-it-to-do. Drum roll. Oh, my sound didn't work. But we failed the test. Aha! That's good to know. First of all, I want to understand why my sounds didn't work. That is critically important. Just needed a reload. Wacky Morning DJ, so buggy. So why did this fail? Subframe is null. Subframe is null. When I tried to remove the subframe from top, is it this removal that it's failing on? Let's see. Nope, it's actually earlier. Let's add before and load event listeners to middle and bottom. Is it just preparing the frame depth that it's freaking out about? Oh, it's even earlier. Subframe is null. What happened? What did I change? So is it up here where things are going wrong? Let's start bisecting and figuring out where the problem is, which part of the test is failing. I probably just changed a thing and broke some stuff. Okay, so that passes, but as soon as we attempt to prepare a frame depth of total frames, it freaks out because... Why? Oh, because I removed the iframes. Right. So it can't access the iframes because I removed the iframes. Okay, so prepare frame depth assumes that an iframe is available. It's just browsed to about blank. So I'm going to reload yield browser test utils browser loaded. So I think that should do it. Actually, what I should probably do is have prepare frame depth do that reloading part so that the caller doesn't have to care. Hey, okay, passed our test, that's good. So I'm going to have prepare frame depth do that stuff for us. Prepare frame depth will... I think I can do this. Good. Okay. Wipe out any... This reload will... we'll start from scratch. No, you know, I'll put that documentation up here. Okay, so our tests, I'm pretty pleased about them. Pleased as punch. So now let's document some of these other things. Some of these are pretty easy. So, ensures that a browser's NSI tab parent has before unload attribute is set to the expected value. Param browser. Now what's the, I've seen a couple different ways of doing this in our testing code. Let me see how browser test utils does it. I think that's kind of the canonical, yeah, param browser is, or Zool browser. The browser to whose NSI tab parent we will check param bool expected true if has before unload is expected to be true. Okay, next we're gonna, this one's kind of trickier to explain, so sets up a structure, sets up a structure where a page at page URL will host an iframe at also pointed at page URL, and it's and also pointed at page URL, and does this repeatedly until we've achieved the desired frame depth. Param Zool browser. The browser in which we'll load our structure at the top level. Note that this will cause the top level browser to reload and wipe out any previous changes to the DOM under it. Okay, and then param int frame depth. And then frame depth is how many content windows, how many frames should at page URL should exist under this browser, under the browser. A frame depth of 3, for example, will create this structure. And I'm actually going to copy this. But I'm going to replace those with that. Whoopsie daisy. Didn't mean to do that. Create this structure. Returns promise. Or is it returns or return? Return promise. This one's tricky. I'm going to save that one for last. I should add use strict at the top. Always use strict. So we've got a nice set of documentation there. We're going to add some documentation here now at the top. Adds a before unload and inert before unload event listener adds one or more inert before and load event listeners in this browser. By default, we'll target the top level content window, but callers can specify an alternative, the index of the subframe to target. See prepare frame depth for an idea of how the subframes are structured. And then param, so browser to add the before unload event listener in param. How many before unload event listeners to add? Note that these before unload event listeners are inert and will not actually prevent the host window from navigating. Param int I say frame depth optional. Now, is that how it's done? Optional, yeah. Maybe this shouldn't be frame depth, but frame index. The depth, I'll keep it frame depth now. The depth of the frame to add the event listener to defaults to 0, which is the top level content window. Return promise. Now, a lot of this can actually be copied. For this, removes one or more. This assumes that add before unload listeners has been called previously for the target frame. By default, we'll target the top level content window, but callers can specify the index of the subframe target. Yeah, and then to remove the before unload event listener from, how many before unload listeners to remove? Frame depth. The depth of frame to remove the event listener from defaults to 0, returns promise. Okay, and then we have two more, not too bad. Navigates a content window to a particular URL and waits for it to finish loading that URL. By default, we'll target the top level content window, but callers specify the index of the subframe target. Yep. The browser that will have the navigation occur within it. And then URL is a string. The URL to send the frame to, content window to, and then frame depth, the depth of the frame to navigate defaults to 0, which is the top level content window. Return promise. Okay, and then remove subframe from, very similar. Removes the iframe from, how did I phrase this before? Removes the iframe from a content window the iframe window pointed at page URL. By default, will target the top level content window, but callers specify the so yeah, and then the browser will have the removal occur within it, and then frame depth, the depth of the frame that will have the removal occur within it. Depth of the frame that will have the removal occur within it defaults to 0, which is the top level content window, meaning that the first subframe will be removed. Okay. So got some decent documentation going on now. That do the hard one, and then I think we're going to rethink the directory structure for some of these tests, and then I'm going to post it up for review, and then I think we'll move on. So control frame at helper function for a number utility sends a command to a frame pointed at page URL. That command, there are utility functions defined in this file that call this function. You should use those instead. Param Zool browser. The browser to send the command to. Param frame depth is an int. The depth of the frame that will send the the command to. 0 means sending it. Depth of the frame will send the command to. 0 means sending it to the top level content window. Param command. That's actually an object, sorry. Object command. An object with the following structure. Add oh boy. Name. One of. Add before unload. String, actually, and then what else do we have? Just some arguments. Command, like content command with following structure. Arbitrary arguments to send with the command. Return promise. I guess I should document each command. Here are the commands that can be sent. Add before, unload. Oh, and what about frame depth? Oh, yes, that's passed along with the command. Before unload, int how many. I should do this. How many before unload event listeners to add. So we're kind of like repeating ourselves here. Remove before unload. How many foreign listeners to remove. And then what else? Navigate and remove subframe. Navigate, and it just takes a URL. String URL is where to send the frame to, or I should say the string to send the URL to, and then last one is just remove subframe. Whoops. Actually should one or more before unload event listeners. I'm actually not going to define, yeah, just a command, return promise. Okay, that should be enough, I think. We want to calculate not only find the frame that maps to the target frame depth that we've been given, but we also want to count the total depth so that if there are if a middle frame is removed or navigated, then we know how many outer window destroyed events outer window destroyed observer notifications to expect. And then I think that's it. I think that's our documentation. Good stuff. All right, let's commit this and run the test one more time. And then we're going to think about directory structure, because maybe this directory doesn't make any sense, this directory structure. So let's run the test one more time. Make sure we didn't break anything by adding documentation. Drum roll, please. 48 pass tests. Excellent. All right, that's good. Okie dokie. Let us now, think about this directory structure a little bit. So we have currently the test in this before unload folder under DOM events. I still don't know if that's the right place. Maybe it should be DOM IPC. Where would I put it? Browser element. Monkey test. Browser element. DOM. Maybe just under DOM tests browser. DOM tests. I think that's where I'm going to put it. DOM tests. If they need more, if they need, I'll put it there for now, and then if they want it moved, we'll move it, but no big deal. DOM events tests, test before unload. Before unload test page, we're going to move that to DOM tests browser. Whoops, HG move, and then we're going to do HG move DOM events test before unload the browser before unload simple. Has before unload simple to DOM tests browser, and then I'm going to name it something new. Browser has before unload .js. There's nothing simple about it. And now I'm just going to go inside this directory now, which is more or less empty. DOM events before unload. We just have this browser ini. I'm going to copy this stuff over into browser. Where is it? Where is it? Sorry, I'm confused. Not browser events, browser tests. There's a browser ini in here. So I'm going to say browser has before unload. And it looks like there was some attempt at alphabetical, but not really. C, F, L, T, 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 X, P. I'm going to try and put it back. Has before H, E, F, G, H. Has before unload. I'm going to say run if equals E10S, and then support files. I'll give it some support files. As before unload test page, and then I'm going to remove the directory I added, which was hgrm dom events test before unload. Get rid of that. Now I'm going to build or actually, if I can just do mock moki test dom tests browser has before unload, because I think mock moki test should do, yeah, regenerating backend configure. No. Dom test browser has before unload. Maybe I have to do an actual build. All right, this shouldn't take too long. But once we're done this, we can push to review. Wait. Why are you complaining? Oh, because so I need to actually update one more thing, which was under DOM events Moz build, I pointed to the directory that I created, and that directory is gone now. Where is that change? So scrolly. Okay, here. Before unload. Yeah, this thing. Don't need that anymore. So maybe I can just do the regenerating backend part now. Maybe that'll be enough. Let's find out. Hey, it seems to work. Oh, 404. Bew. That didn't work. So before unload test page wasn't there. Oh, because the path is wrong now. I also need to make sure that I close this and close this. And now browser has before unload. So this is now wrong. It's not under DOM events. It's just DOM tests. I think that'll do it. Try again. Nope. Where's the wah sad trombone, sad trombone? Okay. So example.com, let's see if there are any other example.coms DOM tests, see browser, grep, example. Example.com browser DOM tests browser. That's where I need to put it. Browser before unload. And now let's back out. One more time. Yeah! All right, folks, we did it. Let's commit this. We're going to commit it. Commit. Now I'm actually going to rearrange the order of the patches in here so that I'm here. This adds a has before unload. I'm going to put the tests in between because this is the part that uses has before unload in the front end. I'm going to put the tests right after has before unload. So regression tests. So while that's sorting itself out, we can say that we wrote has before unload tests. I want to write a new commit that changes all NS Global Windows to use mtabchild where possible. Okay, that is another thing I did want to do on top of some of my other changes. Let's just wait for that to sort itself out. And then Dow had a review comment, an initial review comment. Dow said, using has before unload and set code sounds right to me. I'm not sure what you mean here. Closing window doesn't close tabs individually. I don't think we want to change this. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good point. So this is the comment that I wanted to address. Dow's comment. So ESLint found problems. I should probably lint my test just to be safe. So let's 417397. We're gonna update. We're gonna lint the test, and then I'm going to write the other patch that cleans up some stuff. Mock ESLint setup. Make sure I've got the right ESLint stuff. We're using NVM. We're on 6.9.1 of Node. Mock ESLint setup. Make sure we got the latest business. Good. Install this ESLint stuff. Now mock ESLint, DOM events test browser has before. Browser test browser. Tests browser. DOM event. Maybe it's DOM events. Test. What's in there? DOM event. No, it's not DOM events. It's DOM test browser. Browser has before unload. ESLint it. One problem. We've got a matching ignore pattern. We're apparently ignoring this. Use no ignore to override. Okay. No problems. All right. Passed lint. Woo! Didn't break any rules. That's good. So now I'm here. I want to quickly add the change I wanted for using mtabchild where necessary. So there are a couple places in global window where we try and get the tab child from the doc shell. child, notify slow script, ascom pointer, tab child, ascom pointer, si tab child. Now is there a static cast? Get from. Was get from return an si tab child? It returns a tab child pointer. So I'm going to say si tab child, m tab child. Where else do we have tab child in here? M tab child. Try get tab child that was global as event target. Frame loader. Parent target. Try get tab child global as event target. I don't think I want to mess with that one, but we can do this one. Doc shell. Say si tab child, m tab child. Here, child command dispatcher. Here we can do it again. Tab child equals. Maybe I should be using using the equals. Instead of the parens. Tab child. Tab child equals m tab child. Child send get tab. Okay. And then from. Do we ever do tab child get from this elsewhere? No. So we can probably build this, and I think bug use m tab child. Now that use tab child instead of doc shell get tab child. I think that's what we're global window. It was like ns tab child or ns doc shell get tab child, right? It was like get tab child. That's what we replaced. Get tab child doc shell. Instead of ns doc shell get tab child inside ns global window. Okay, that should build, but let's double check. And while we're doing that, we can think about what Dow wrote about over here. Why is this function return true? So he's talking about here. It's like he's spotted basically a side bug where when we determine whether or not we can close a window, if we time out in any browser, here if we time out, then we return true in total. Now, if that was intentional, I'm hoping we can find that out. Let's see, can close window, timed out. window. Close outer. So like, I can't, just from a glance around, I can't find any words that suggest why we would have returned early. Browser related tabs, tab view fixes. What's tab view fixes? Oh, that thing. Okay, no. Test changes, functional changes. Can close window. If can close window. Can close window. No, I don't. Oh, what happened here? Doesn't like something. No viable conversion from a ref pointer to a com pointer. Whoops. No viable conversion from a ref pointer to a com pointer. I'm pretty sure this won't help, but maybe. That was 7371. Should throw up on this one too, on 7371. No, it doesn't. So it's okay with the bracket one. I don't exactly remember the difference, but I guess there is a difference. If my, I guess it's because com pointers can be constructed with other pointers. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm constructing it instead of assigning it. I guess I should do this last one too. Child, tab child. So basically what we want to fix here, what Dow is talking about is over here in can close window. Of the ones that, if we time out, if not permit unload, if not permit unload, if timed out, we should continue and not return true right away. But maybe I'll get Bill to double check that. Oh, failed again. In variable declaration, cannot have a parenthesized initializer. Okay, so it doesn't like my fancy. I'm so fancy. Doesn't like the fanciness at 10,007. Oh, and I guess I don't need the doc shell. If child anything else like that? Alright. Like, in here, do we ever use the doc shell for anything? No, we don't. So with that building, then we can switch to our other patch, and um, we can then start. Oh boy, lots of stuff showing up in my inbox. Hopefully there's no emergency. Let me just quickly double check. Nope. Although we are nearly done this episode, I was actually hoping to have gotten more done by now. I didn't expect. I was hoping we could have moved forward. Maybe I'll let this episode run a little bit longer than usual, just so that we can move forward with some of the easier stuff that I'd hoped to like knock out today. Okay. So the next thing I want to do, yeah, I think just in terms of planning, my plan here is for each browser that is, we're going to filter out all the browsers that have permit unload or has before unload, and for any of those, we'll run permit unload, and if timed out, we'll continue. And that I think will be sufficient, and then I'll have Bill test that. So, or Bill review it. So let's run our tests again just to be sure. Just to be super sure. When all this is done, I'm going to push this to try just to double check that I haven't broken stuff. Good. Okay, now let us rebase. I don't think, did I have any differences to commit? Probably, actually. And I'll actually, instead of having Mossop review this, I'll have Dow review it, because he's already kind of been checking it out. Yeah, I did have some changes, so I'll commit, amend those, and then I'm going to rebase the browser front end changes on top, and then I'm going to fix that stuff up if there are any fixes required, and then I'm going to add Dow's fix on top of that and ask for a review from Bill. That's my plan. Rebase R to tip. So rebase. Okay, so before what I was doing was, we know which ones containing frames that have, we know which ones contain frames. Oh, better grammar, Mike. What the? Oh, probably because I now have to update to tip. Come on now. There we go. So we know which ones contain frames that have set before unload event handlers. The remote browsers that have not, we can safely ignore. So for each browser, filter out the ones that browser is remote browser. Is tab parent and has before unload. Yeah. And I'm just gonna shorten that down. Tab parent. So frame load, browser should have frame loader, and it should have, but tab parent might be null in the non-ETNS case. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure that it won't error out. New non-ETNS window. G browser, selected browser frame loader. Tab parent is null. Good. So I'm just going to call this tab parent. or tab parent and tab parent has before unload. The remote browser, for remote we know which ones contain frames that set before unload event handlers. So we only want to look at browsers that are non-remote or have the has before unload event handlers set to true. Before unload, not event handler, property on their SI tab parent set to true. Set to true. Would rather have that are not remote or have the has. You know, tab parent and tab parent has before unload. And this thing I'm going to address in a follow-up patch. But what else was in this patch? Was permit unload. Not frame loader, tab parent has before unload. I'm gonna modify that so that what tab parent equal frame loader dot tab parent if tab parent and not tab parent has before unload. Callers should check we'll do that, but also the place where permit unload is called. Where is permit unload called? Can load URI with flags. What does DAO say? DAO says, using has before unload and set code. I think there's a better way to do this. Permit unload is run against each tab and closing the whole window. I'll update to skip the ones without has before unload. Should never call permit unload without that check. If we're doing multiple. If we're doing multiple, can close window, begin remove tab. Who uses this? That's if we have the doc shell, okay. So not in the parent, permit unload, browser dot. In permit unload, permit unload. Guess what I want is permit unload. That. No. So that one we don't worry about. That one we've already fixed. That one, don't worry about it. Don't worry about that one either. Okay. It's whenever we are dealing with closing tabs in bulk that we only ever we want to skip permit unload on the ones that don't have has before unload set to true. Okay. So I'm gonna change the reviewer to DAO. Let's now test this. Let's test our patch. Don't ask for permission to unload a window if it's never set an on before unload event handler. Yeah, it still seems relevant as a commit message. Okay, so how will we test this? First thing I'll do is I will make sure that this before unload event handler still works. So this one is actually going to block navigation. So now, yeah, okay, so we block navigation. And we'll still ask about it if we're attempting to close. Okay. Now what I want to do is set up, let's see, let's go to mozilla.org. I'm going to have this one, which does not have a before unload event handler set, or shouldn't. Before unload event handlers are evil. If anything should come out of this, it's that you never use before unload event handlers. Frame loader, tab parent, has before unload should be false. Good. And now we're just going to make this one hang. We're going to spin JavaScript for a while, and then we should just close right away. Amazing. Before that would have hung for about 5 seconds. So that's great news. All right. So let's now do one more commit, which is DAO's patch that he wanted, where permit unload. If timed out, continue. If not, permit unload, return false. Bug. Don't. If permit unload times out in can close window, make sure to check the rest of the browsers before returning a value. I'm going to say Bill M. If browser.permit unload times out in can close window, make sure to check the rest of the browsers before returning a result. And we're going to check the patch, then we'll push this up for review, and then we'll push to try, and then I'm going to do one more thing before this episode ends. And what is that thing going to be? So let's just check what this patch is. Yeah. Okay. Push R to review. Okay. So what's the thing I want to work on next? Address DAO commit. Did that. Add remove tabs method that prioritizes tabs that we can close right away when closing large groups. I actually think that we can do that in a new bug. File new bug to add remove tabs, write remove tabs tests. That'll be for the above. I don't think we actually want those assertions because I think we already have those kinds of checks. Okay. So ASON, 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 and then don't ask. Browsers. And then the next commit was this one, Bill M. If timed out, continue. Okay. So now to push to try. We're going to test Linux 64, OS X, Win32, both debug and opt builds. We're going to run everything. Run all the tests. I guess because I'm altering tab global window, I should also make sure that Android doesn't break. Okay, so submit. Hey, done. Okay, so now we are blocked on review here. This still has some to-dos to file some follow-up bugs, so I'm going to tag it with has to-dos, but it's also blocked on review and blocked on a try push. Pretty good. Blocked on try build. Where's our try build? Do we have a link yet? Eventually this will like spit out a link. I'll get it in my email eventually. Okay, next. What do I want to do next? We're done this, so or that's now blocked on some things. That's okay. Hey, we have our try build URL, so I'll drop that in here. Try build. Great. And I quickly want to work on this. We're going to remove this reader mode advertisement panel. This is a thing. It's not an advertisement really. It's more like a promotion, feature promotion. So if you've ever started up like a brand new profile of Firefox, we have this like reader mode feature. Maybe you don't know about this reader mode feature. If you go to my blog or any blog, any sort of page where there are articles in such a way that like they're using sections and articles, you might notice this little icon show up in the URL bar. This is reader view or reader mode. So if you click on that, you get this nice reader sort of like it filters out all of the cruft and noise so you can just read the content, which is pretty nice. And you can actually get it to read to you. I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. Let's find out. Holy smokes. Have I been invisible this whole time? I just realized I've been invisible this whole time. And did... Oh. Huh. Didn't realize I'd been invisible. Well, I've been invisible. Anyways, this is what it sounds like.
A printing story in the PSA. Outbrands over the IPC layer might not behave like you'd expect.
So you can actually get it to read to you, which is pretty nice. That works on Windows as well, I believe. Windows, OS X, and maybe even Linux. I think it's using the Web Speech API. Let's see. What did I want to talk to you about? Oh yeah, so whenever you first visit a page that's like this, that can do this, we show this little pop-up to point out this little feature, and we've been doing that for a while. And I want to remove that because I don't like spamming the user with stuff. This feature has been out for a while. We're trying to remove pop-ups where we can, and we noticed that we were skipping a frame when it happens because we have to do like layout and stuff. This was shipping in Firefox 38. It's been a number of releases, a bunch of releases since Firefox 38 went out. Like, what date did this land? This feature promotion thing. The info panel went out when? Like at least 2 years ago. So if I've already got the green light from Jeff Griffiths, who is head of product in Firefox, to just get rid of this thing. So let's get rid of it. And I think I have a stack in here, or I have this thing. So show reader mode info panel is what we want to get rid of. And reading list promo first use. Let's see if we can like, if browser is article and detect first article. So detected first article, that's the thing that we're gonna flip to simulate the first time. Because this is the pref that we set after we show it for the first time, is detected first article. So I'm going to set that to false and then visit my blog and see if we get, okay, about config. So I reset that. Now let's go to my blog and you'll see what I'm talking about. Boom, this thing. This is what we want to get rid of. And we're also running Flash. I'm running Flash apparently on this page. I don't know why. Oh, maybe some of the videos are probably using the Flash player. Should probably get rid of that. Okay. Anyways, we need to get rid of this thing. Let's get rid of it. First of all, are there any places in the tree that make reference to this pref for testing? There are a couple of different places that use it. Browser hidden nodes detected first article false. Test that reader mode button appears and works properly on readable content. Detected first article is false. Don't cause extra flushes for reader mode. And then we go to that page. Reader mode is still not present on tab with unreadable content. Okay, good. Let's get rid of all the references to that pref. So let's start putting out a game plan here. Get rid of all references to the pref. Browser reader detected first article. What else are we gonna do? We're gonna get rid of. Was there any tests added for it? Let's see whenever this got added. I think I have a. Yeah, let's reference the bug that added it. This got added here. And what was it? So it's an old school splinter bug. And so what it does is it adds that pref. There's this test. Should be next to the reader mode button. Using UI tour. Mode. UI tour is info on target. I don't actually think we need to remove that part. We need to basically remove all of this stuff though. And reader tour we might want to get rid of as well. So get rid of all references. So get rid of reader parent. What's the function called? Show reader mode info panel. Get rid of the image. Reader mode. URL. Reader tour at 2x.png. Or maybe we want to keep it if so. It looks like there's the actual tour. There's like a tour feature. But we might not want it if the user's just like browsing around. But if they're viewing the tour, target promise. Where was show reader mode info panel introduced? Info panel was first introduced when? UI tour. Force page and reader view automatically whenever the reader view reader list tour page is loaded. Implement info panel when first available. So maybe we'll want to keep the tour part. This is way back in the day. What happened? Force show reader icon. We would then say force show reader icon. Update reader button browser's article 2. Update reader button browser. So force show reader icon comes from what? Send event. Force show reader icon. Who calls that tour? Is there any Mozilla websites doing that kind of tour thing? Force show reader icon. UI tour, all these tests. Oh, multiple pages. So I think we might want to keep the tour part. If the user's going through the tour, let me see if I can somehow trigger the tour so that we can test that part. I'm going to cap this episode in about 20 minutes, so we're going a little long. Apologize. Is there a tour? Nightly tour. Great. Page not found. Great. Tour. Is there like a 53.0 tour? Let's open up release. Let's see where it sends us when we go on a tour. It just redirects to this stuff, this page. Let's update to the most recent version, make sure that's still the case. There's not even a reference to reader mode in this document that it sent us to. Okay. Tour. No, there's no tour. Okay, well, I won't rock the boat for now. I'll assume that the tour still exists somewhere. I know that there's like some support page kerfuffle happening right now. So I'm going to keep the show reader mode info panel in the event that we're doing the tour. But the thing that calls show reader mode info panel update reader button browser. If and browser's article, and we haven't detected first article, and we're at a current URI host, and it's not that we end with mozilla.org, then we show the info panel. Else if reader mode info panel open, alright, maybe I should ask here. Oh, I'm being asked something in IRC. Hey, we're looking at adding a checkbox to one of the preferences. Someone's asking me a thing. Hey, we're adding a, hey, live streaming right now. Mind if I try to answer your question on air? We'll see what they think. Okay. Oh, I mean, like, I was going to chat with you here, or here in IRC, but, like, have my IRC client in front of the video being recorded in the space, be visible in the stream. Okay, so reads question again. So the question is, we're looking at adding a checkbox to one of the preferences screens to let users easily disable screenshots. Right now, that requires manually adding Zool files. Is there any way we could dynamically add a checkbox from a system add-on? I'm guessing not because localization. Screenshots is an embedded web extension, so there's a Bootstrap JS that can call into services. What release are you targeting? 55. 55 is my question. So while I'm answering this, I'm also going to ping Matt about this tour stuff. Because I think he knows about it. Hey, I'm working on bug. What's this bug number? Right now. With clearance from Kanakastani to get rid of the reader mode feature promotion panel when visiting an article for the first time. Do you know if we have any tours deployed that attempt to open this thing? Because I noticed that there's UI tour support for it as well, and wanted to know if we needed to keep it for that too. So waiting on both of these folks to respond. Let's see if our try build is cooking, just out of curiosity. Yeah, it's cooking. Sorry, 58.5 works, yeah. Okay, in that case, L10N shouldn't be a problem. Localization shouldn't be a problem as far as I know. There is an API to programmatically add Zool overlays for things. You could, I believe that might be one way forward. Let me point you at it. Might be one way forward, though. You'd need to detect when about the form autofill system extension is doing what you want. Oh, oh, oh. Perhaps follow Matt N's example then. He's probably thought about this more than I have. So now I'm curious. Oh, there was a red here. What's this red? Windows. What? Never include windows.h in this file. Why is this build failing? In global window, port assertion failure because I attempted to load something. What could that be? Tier 2, tier 2. So I guess it's not too bad. 2012 opt, tier 2, but these ones are okay. So I must have broken something. I don't know what I broke though. Global window 14885. What could that be? That's global window 885. If Windows never include Windows in this file. When would I have done that? How could I have possibly included Windows.h? I did add a reference to something else. I add a reference, like a header. I added the tabchild.h header. Is that somehow bringing in Windows.h? That'd be crazy. Worth figuring out, but not for now. Let's see what Matt N says. We're not using Zool, we're just dynamically adding the content. You have a patch look at example coming up. It's an MC. Basically, listen for advanced pane load and inject your content. By the way, there's another bug about UI tour style flush. Yeah, I think I've seen that one. In this case, though, I'm wondering if we can just, I think we're able to avoid the panel entirely. I think we're able to remove the panel entirely. At least on first article visit. But I wanted to know if there's still a use case for it being available for the tour. To know if you knew tour. Like, right now when I go to help Firefox tour in release, I get sent to a sumo page that doesn't seem to do UI toury things. Do we have an active tour anywhere? Okay. Oops. Do we need to go there? Well, you know what, folks? It's probably going to take me a little bit of time longer to figure this out to get the exact state of things. Oh, wait. Just like 1352518. I'm not sure why this would be a P1 given that it happens so rarely, but okay. Happens during first use of the browser as soon as you visit an article. Is there anything else I want to do before this episode ends? No, I think we're done here. Hey, folks, I think that's it. I think I'm calling it right here. Thank you so much for watching episode 98 of The Joy of Coding. I hope this was enjoyable. There is a link in the agenda to rate this episode. If you're watching this on Twitch, I'm about to drop that link into the Twitch chat as well. Let me just drop that in. Boop. Link to rate the episode. Let me know what you thought. I'm always reading that stuff. A reminder that if you are interested in contributing to the episode guide, the sort of nascent fledgling episode guide, this is the page. It's in the links in the agenda. Feel free to contribute. I've given an idea for the structure, but I'm hoping it can kind of be viewer run. If that's a thing you're interested in doing, pull requests welcome. I will be very liberal about my acceptance of pull requests. So do consider contributing to that. And yeah, I think that's it. Let me just boop. Hey, thanks so much for watching episode 98. I hope this was pleasurable. I hope you had a good time. I hope you you enjoyed the hacking. And just a reminder, there is no episode next week. So the following week, I believe we will be in May, the beginning of May, we will be having episode 99, the penultimate episode to episode 100. So do check us out then. Check me out. Check it out. Check out episode 99 the week after next. And so I won't see you next week. Have a great one, and I'll see you soon, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.